Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I just want to bring you up to speed with what I've done, which you would have watched yesterday, sort of the two videos leading up to this point. So I thought I'll turn on the camera because I've done my homework and stitched everything down that was three-dimensional and needed to be secured before we do some embroidery. Now on the chair I've stitched down that little piece of fabric that we cut out just with an overcast stitch and some basic sewing machine cotton around the outer edge. I've given you quite a big view of it all too, so it'll just sort of give you a bit of a perspective before we zoom in and start deciding on what threads to use next and how to stitch. So that is in position. Here's our little box of tricks that we created, and we've got this little piece of crocheting that will be stitched in there to look like it's a crocheted blanket draped over the top of that chair. So that's ready to go. I'm not going to put it into place because I need to do all this stitching, and it'll just be another thing for my thread to snag on. So I'm definitely not going to put that in. I did stitch down the piece of linen, which is the seat, the padded cushion that's on this garden seat. Now all I did was overcast stitch as well, and at the same time I tucked this little piece of lace in that we got from the tablecloth, which I just need to trim back there a little bit. So I'm happy with that. I'm not going to trim that corner, it'll break the little scallop that's on the edge there. So look, I probably could, but I don't think I need to. Maybe I'd tuck it under and just stitch it down. Look, I'm probably overthinking it. Doesn't really matter. I do think I need a line to come through here to denote that that has bent over, and that's the front edge of the piece. Now, what did I do with my pen? Don't tell me I didn't bring it into the room. I had a huge tidy up yesterday. I just cleared my desk of everything, sorted everything, and just got this one project here in front of me, and there's a pen, and it feels so refreshing. I'm really pleased I did it, but now we can't find anything. Here's a little ruler, this will do. So I just want to bring in a little line here that I can stitch in to just show that that is the front edge of the cushion. Do I need it? Actually, if I just do some running stitch along there, like that'll make it look quilted, and I think it'll actually give the impression. So what I'm thinking, let's set this little task up and we'll work our way through each area. I've got my pin cushion back into the new Ferrero Rocher chocolate container. Thanks Easter Bunny for providing that. So I just want to pick out a needle. I've just got some crochet cotton, the usual number 8. Could use number 12, but it might be a little bit, yeah, no, I'm going to stick with 8. Now, it's not the easiest to stitch here with you guys. I'm going to start at that line and just see if that makes my eye think it is a cushion or not. And I'm just going to do a little running stitch along. Then we will work out what colours that we're going to make our wicker chair. I'm thinking along the lines of the browns, because wicker's usually brown or white. I don't think white will really show up. Could probably do cream, that'd look pretty cute. Might get a bit lost. I think we'll do the browns and maybe highlight some of the decorative elements of the chair with a different brown. That would be, make it interesting. Okay, so there's a little running stitch through there. I think I'm going to just move that out of the way. What has the designer done? That's like my little patterns here. So sort of layers upon layers, but because I've got the lace, I've pretty much taken that whole area out. I might just continue with a little bit more running stitch. I'm going to turn the piece so that I can get a better angle. And just do another little running stitch. So another name, Boro stitch, camphor style stitching, depending on the culture that is exhibiting their techniques. Same name, same stitch, or same stitch, different names. So if we were working in Japanese fabrics, we would use Boro. If we were working in layering of textiles that sort of makes you feel like it's a bit of a camphor quilt style, it's running stitch as well. If you're from the English side of things, our grandparents and great-greats would have done running stitch. So if you're new to embroidery and you're wondering what the hang are all these names, that's my interpretation of it. It's probably a bit flippant, but yeah, that's my interpretation. There's all sorts of other names out there, but that's, yeah, how I get it straight in my head. Yeah, I like that. I might even do a different stitch for the cushion. Could do that. The top of the cushion, just to make it look something different. I do want to do maybe a sewing basket or something on it. I'll think about that right at the very end. That might be in 2 or 3 videos. We'll see how it comes together. Sometimes the little details sort of really help tell a story. So I'm thinking that a little basket, even if it's a little basket of yarn or something, because there's this crocheted blanket nearby, that could be pretty cute, but a decision for another day. So there's three rows of stitching, so I'm pretty happy with that. I like the soft cream. It's given it a little bit of an edge detail, so I guess we could now consider maybe a different pink. So that looks like it's an edge. I might zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. I wonder if I've got a soft creamy colour I could change the stitch to. Yeah, maybe I quilt. Let's have a little play. This thread is 224 and it's a number 12, so it's finer than what we've just used. But I'm wondering, my brain's just thinking here, I could do a line of stitch to denote the top of the edge. I could frame out the seat and get my angles right, which would help the eye go, yes, that's definitely a seat. Yeah, I do like that. I could couch that. Then I could come back and even do some quilting in there. So it looked like it was, or even, you know, when you pull in a button on a couch and it gives you that indent. Oh, here we go. The seat's getting very elaborate. So I'm just going to, I think, go with that. I need a thimble. Where's the thimble? Gee, my fingers are getting sore. Like, I love stitching, but boy, getting a few indents around the place, but it's all good. I've got a few thimbles. I just got to put them on. You know, you just get stuck into it, and then you get a jab and you're like, oh, that's right. So I've just created a stitch. I'm now going to over stitch that, or couch it down with some little itty bitty stitches. That just holds it into position. It'll give the eye a bit of a line and help it sort of your brain recognize that it is a three-dimensional seat. That's a big stitch to get there, so couching is a lovely way to just make sure you keep everything true and straight. How pretty. I'm happy with this little seat. I could leave it plain, and I think that would definitely look like it is a cushion, because we've put that little bit of decorative element to the front edge of the cushion. Let's just get this edge sorted. Let's get it over to the camera. It's not the best view because I'm using pink on pink. Okay, that's that straight edge secure. Now I might just jump up to the top there, so I'll just weave it through the fabric. So I don't have a lot left of my thread, so I might just grab a straight line up the back of that cushion, and I've lost my needle. I'll thread it. Well, this certainly will keep me busy, stitching these two elements, the chair plus the tree and the bird nest. Okay. I don't think I'll get back couching with the last little bit of thread, so I might just catch that side stitch on the side of the cushion, couch it back because I think I might just have enough, end it off, rethread and do that back cushion. I think I've got enough thread to probably do 3 little stitches, maybe 4. Okay, so that's our little cushion shape anyway. I will thread again because I just want to work out how we're going to decorate the top of the cushion. Do we do... what do we do? I had thought as we were going earlier in the piece, where's the cotton gone, that I'd do like a running stitch, but I think it'll look too similar to the front of the cushion, the bottom or the side, the front edge. That's what I'm trying to say. Then I started thinking along the lines of quilted and then the button idea. So I just want to have a play with that, and we'll just make a decision. So I might just couch down this top thread before it becomes too loose and jiggles around. So let's get you back into shot, zoom you down a little bit more. So I'm just going to whiz along that top there and secure this little guy. Now you've got to remember, at the end of the day, these are abstract versions of elements in our garden. You're not creating picture perfect, so it gives you a lot of wriggle room. Okay. more stitches. Like so. Now, do we do some little, what would look like a button? I really like this button idea. Let me get in the center of the frame here. Do we do a colonial knot? Is it big enough? I don't think it's big enough. So let's try a French knot. 1, 2, 3. You want to see them. If there's little buttons there, you want to see them. Oh yeah, we can see them. So I usually place them in a line, but on sort of off center from each other. So let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. Wraps is good. I'll do another one. Then I might drop down 1, 2, 3. Maybe drop down a row and do another one here. 1, 2, 3. Such a little detail that no one's really going to pick up on when they look at this piece, I'm sure, but I know. Oops, concentrate girl, I've just done a dodgy knot. Let's see if I can save this. Oh, come on. I let go of the thread which created a loop. No, I don't think I can save it. I'm going to try and get it underneath without breaking the thread. Bury it, but I broke the thread. Oh, what a pain. What we'll do is we'll now trim the knot, pick up the thread on the other side. There's my thread, it broke. It's not the end of the world, but we'll just weave in my needle, catch that little itty bitty thread, and pull it through. And we'll do it again. So if you do, you know, get a knot in your thread and it's close to your work, and just try and bury the knot in your work, but if you can't, just trim it off and then just thread your needle up again using the last little skerrick. You just need it to come back through your work like that. Okay, we might take this opportunity to get a little bit more thread. Now what I want to do is a knot, a row of knots with another, you know, directly above, below those, and then there'll be a third row, but put them off center to each other. So what I mean is there's 3 little buttons there. Come back here. 1, 2, 3. And then do another one here, because when they sort of quilt it, it's sort of the look you would get. If there was a little bit of padding in there, you'd really get that quilted look, but we don't have that. But this will at least feel like it's got a little surface to it, this little cushion. 1, 2, 3. So I like that. And then the next little French knot will be 1 row down. 1, 2, 3. And dropping it in there. So they're all sort of just off center from each other, but still in a straight line. Okay, 2, 3. It'll just put a nice little little detail to that top of that cushion without it being too, I don't know, I think the running stitch would have been too coarse for it, if that makes sense. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's enough time on the cushion. I think we have a plan, so I can just French knot that in. I'll bring the needle up here for the next one and leave it at that. Okay, so the cushion will be sorted. Now, as for the actual chair, so that cotton needs to stay in play. There's like potential of a few different colours actually. There's this banding, like when they bind cane to hold straps of cane together. Then there's the cane chair itself. Then there's this crisscross. So we might have a look at some brown tones that we could match in. We could even bring cream into the crisscross. That'd be pretty. Got this one here as well. So I could, I'm thinking we do, there's a little area we could do a little bit, probably on an arm. So let's cut a bit of this brown. It's sort of a fawny brown. 840 is the colour. So let's have a look. And I might do stem stitch because that'll be raised. So it'll sort of feel like the chair's got more dimension. Might come over here where I can hold it in my fingers better for filming purposes. So stem stitch, I come up just before the edge of the line. So the edge of the line's right up here, but I'm going to come forward, then go back. At this point, you're deciding on how big each of your little stitches are going to be, and then you sort of have to stick with it. So let's just do a few of those. So it'll be this soft chocolatey tone. Then I might do the corneli work, or the curves that are on the inside of the arm, and the lattice that's on the back of the chair in the cream. There's a possibility it might get a bit lost. So whether I have to get a darker cream, that's quite likely. But I think I want it that two-tone look. So we're just running this little stem stitch down this edge of the arm. Nice and simple. It'll give a bit of a raised effect too, so it'll make it feel like the chair is a little bit dimensional on the page. Running stitch might be a bit too flat. Running stitch might be good for the cream bits that we were just talking about, because then they feel like they're set back in within the structure of the chair. I don't know. You sort of got to have a think about all your stitches and what texture they give you. Are they high? Are they flat? Are they subtle? Are they bold? Then you've got to think about your threads. Once again, is it thin? Is it thick? And then have a look at what you're doing and going, well, how much of the bird wing do we want to see? So therefore I need to pick a thinner thread and a thinner style stitch. Then you run the risk of that whatever you're stitching might just disappear into the background. So sometimes you need to be a little bit bold and go, right, I'm going to do a thicker stitch with a more bolder thread to get that wing to be more predominant if you're doing a bird, for example. But it really is experimenting. You do get used to your threads after a while. You just start to remember previous pieces, and then you know what it will give you, so to speak. I'm just going to drop down to the bottom edge here underneath and just use the last little bit of that. It's not seen because the lace is there, but I didn't stitch that lace down because I had a feeling I might want to get in under it. Oops. So now I will film the stitching of the bird and the nest and all that, because a few of you commented that you didn't see a lot of the flowers that we stitched up the top here, this. So I know it's hours of work, but I'll try and capture the work on the little bird, because if you wanted to add a bird to your work, then it might just give you that little bit of confidence for those of you that are new to all this. But the biggest trick is to find an image, whether you have a traceable image that you can get out of a transfer book or a colouring in book, or you're able to find a fabric with a good bird on it. And remember, if there's a part of the bird you don't like, well, you can stitch over it. Like, I don't like the blue on that bird that I chose, so I'll be toning that into the pinks and reds so that it sort of suits our piece. That's the beauty of this painting with thread. Okay, so I've got that one rail in on the chair. There's a second rail that will come in through here, and I may actually do that in a running stitch so that it feels like it just backs away a little bit. But I might join the running stitch together, so like a back stitch or even a split stitch, just to give us that dimensional feel. So I might do a split stitch. We want it there, but we want it back a bit. So split stitch is just when, instead of sitting to the side of the previous stitch, you just go straight into the stitch you just did. So it's a lot flatter. Here we go, we got a piece of pink caught up in it now. It's a lot flatter, so it's good for structures, or say a building and you've stem stitched the front of the building, but you want the walls at the back of the building or the edges of the building in the distance to be a little bit more reserved. You can do a split stitch. So everything's connected, there's no gaps, but it's a softer stitch, if that makes sense. It's really good if you're doing, say, you're filling, let's say you don't like satin stitch. Satin stitches, lots of stitches side by side. This stitch, this split stitch is really good if you're doing timber, like a tree, a branch, a fence paling. You can pop that needle back into the center of that previous stitch. And it really gives a nice effect when it's side by side. It's good for fur, feathers, on, say, a neck of a duck, for example. And it's, you know, the duck feathers are really silky. You don't really see a defined feather. You know they're there, but you don't see them. That's what this stitch is really good for. It's probably not showing up on camera because of the distance and all that, but I'm happy with that. It's like the front edge is raised, but then the back edge, which we can see because the timber's turned on that angle. It's like we're looking at a piece of timber like that, but our timber's slightly turned and we're stitching this one way back here. We've done that edge, and now we're doing this edge here. Not that I'm an expert in geometry. Perspective. I failed that section of art class. I just put it down to I had an abstract view on life. So that's that little section done. Okay. So I might end that off because I will use that piece of cotton again from the top, using the stem stitch to come down the other side of that rail. So I'm just going to pop it to one side and I'll pick that up later. Now the question is, in the center here of that handrail, do we use that or will it be lost? I think it's going to be lost. What other cool colors can we use? That's a stronger cream. This is Cruel DMC cotton. It's a lot thicker, but I think that might create a bit of a feature actually. So I'm liking that idea. Let's just start on this little, and I'll do that through this crisscross at the back. But the main thing is we do want to see it. You don't want to go to all this effort and the chair doesn't show it up. I might do stem stitch again, just so it's got a little bit of structure to it. Stitches need to be fairly small to get around this little curve. Yeah, that's going to work. It's dainty. Probably could have done it in all chocolate and it would have stood out, but I just don't want it to be too strong in colour. So let's just tone it down, but gosh, there's some wind around today. I don't know if you can hear it. Feels like we're finally changing seasons. We've lost that humidity that is classic summer for Queensland, Brisbane. But there's this wind. Okay, so that little piece of cane that's been curved there meets the rail. Yeah, but it shouldn't meet the rail because it's attached to the top and the bottom. So I'm going to pull back one stitch and I'm going to follow the lead of the designer, Bronwyn Hayes, and I'm going to try and scoot up that side, not touching. Until I get to the top, and that's where that piece of wicker is going to catch. Like, I really am overthinking the structure of this chair, but sometimes those little details makes your brain go, yes, that's a chair, or you will look at it and go, oh, something structurally just doesn't look right with that. That's what it is. There'll be just something missing. I'm going to go a little bit higher. Get my curve up here a little bit more. Okay, I think that cream is going to work a treat. Yep, I love it. It'll put a little bit of elegance, I think, into the chair. It's fiddly. I've got to come back down there. And that second curve of wicker or cane should fit in nicely beside it. It is a little bit covered by the crocheted blanket that's going to be draped over, but that's okay. Okay. So that will work. Just gonna, do I end it off? No, I've got a bit of thread there. I might just bring it up here in the bottom. How are we going for time? Plenty of time. I might just finish this thread off by starting the next little guy. I'll try and do it reasonably fast so we don't waste too much time. Now I've unthreaded. I've probably only got about 4 stitches, 5 maybe, left in this piece of thread, so yeah, I like that. I think that cream is going to look really pretty. Now, I'm going to finish that off. So the last colour we need to figure out is the binding that is often on these cane chairs, that wrapping. But in order to do that stitch, I actually need to finish the other side of that rail. So I'm going to rethread. And we're just going to quickly stem stitch down the outer edge of it. Okay, I've gone quiet, I'm concentrating. So for you, you're watching this well and truly after Easter now, where I'm actually Easter Saturday. So yesterday, Good Friday for me, we had some friends over for dinner. We just made some hamburgers. I'd have to say I have the best hamburger patty recipe on the planet. Don't ask me what the recipe is because I do not know. I just add those few core ingredients you learn as a kid in cooking at school and with your mum in the kitchen, you know, mince, onion, salt, pepper, whatever seasonings in the cupboard that you haven't used for ages. Check that it's not out of date, which it usually is. So often the seasoning doesn't end up in there. Good squirt of tomato sauce, an egg to bind it, and some fresh bread broken down like crumbs, a bit of a sprinkle of bread crumbs that are dry. Form them up, squash them down. Then before I fry them up, I roll them, or I pat dry breadcrumbs on the outside of them. And the secret ingredient to all of it, so that if you have forgotten any of the above steps or ingredients, this ingredient will save the day and everyone will think they are the best. And they will like, what is that unusual taste? And it is grated cheese. So if you forget the egg, it binds it. If you don't have seasoning, gives it taste. If you forget the salt and pepper, gives it taste. So the secret ingredient is half a cup of grated cheese. You can add more if you want a real cheesy. If you forget to buy oil, if you forget to buy oil and you go to fry them and there's no oil, there'll be oil coming from that cheese. It's just like the magic ingredient. It helps them crispy up, so you get that crispy edge like you've got a griller. Yeah, so he told you it was the best recipe. All right, I am going to use that thread. It's a Wonderfil cotton. I think I got them from Lisa from Forage years ago. When I first found Lisa, I found that she was selling cottons in packs. I'm sure it's Lisa Maddox. But they're around, these colours, so you'll find them. So I can't give you a number. Oh, yes, I can. No, I was picked up the wrong one. It's called Khaki. So it comes to you looking like this, but I've wound it onto the little card. So we've got some binding right on that curve. And see how they've curved that? That really gives the impression that rail is twisting forward towards you. So I'm just going to do satin stitch, I think. I probably come up on the wrong side. I think I need to go back down, I will, and come up on the outside of that, because I need to give the impression that it is wrapped. So let's just do that. So it's a subtle difference. It's not a big difference. Get me back into shot. So yeah, cooked the hamburgers, and then after dinner the boys went and watched some movies and hung out, and we ladies, Marianne and her daughter Chelsea, we sat around and just chatted in my craft room. Chelsea's in the process of sorting out a heap of beads, in the process of tidying up at the farm after Mum passed. I took all of her jewellery back to Brisbane, and over the years we'd been to a lot of bead making classes, and so she had quite a lot of costume jewellery that we'd created in different courses for years, or when I just bought a heap of beads and we went camping and we just sat there and made jewellery, that type of thing. So she had quite a big pile. So I brought it all back to Brisbane, and I thought, oh, I'll never wear it because they're in tones that she liked, like autumnal tones, things like that. So I thought, I'll pull it all apart, I'll put it into my storage, and then I'll use it whenever. And Chelsea has been given the task of pulling it apart and putting it into containers for storage and, you know, organising it. So she's been at it a little while because there was quite a bit. So she spent the evening doing that. So I can assure you there are beads everywhere. She's tied it up and left, but I can feel beads under my feet as I walk around my table. So I'm guessing as she snipped some of those pieces, it just flicked everywhere. So it's pretty funny. I've got some great colours in there. So it'd be good to repurpose all those pieces. I had the similar jewellery, but I've had 2 house break-ins over the last 10 years, or 3 if you go back 15 years, and it's just all gone. They've just grabbed, you know, boxes that had costume jewellery in it and made things, and it's all gone. So it was actually a bit of a trip down memory lane as Chelsea held up a bracelet or a necklace. I actually could remember when we made it, and of course mine is gone. So I got that thread there. I didn't stay to the one side, and it's just sitting up a little bit. I think that's all I need. I'm just going to cheat and catch that thread, pull it down into position. That's better. So it looks more like satin stitch. So that will work. That's the binding that will appear throughout the structure of the chair. All right, what else do we need to figure out? So that's pretty much it. So that binding will go right around the whole top of the chair. I might even sneak a bit in under here if I've got room, but I don't think I will. I think I'll have to come up with something else. Maybe I let that flick up and I just get this lattice work in under here, and then I can do something along the bottom, that bottom rail, pinning the chair together. That's all air. I might just turn my iron on and we'll iron that corner. Hang on one moment. Just had to grab my power board. Chelsea's taken the power board to the other end of the table because her phone was losing charge, so just had to jump up and grab it. So I think we've got that nutted. There's the colours. There's the buttons. So that's going to be really pretty. There's my reference, so I know where to go. All right, what I want to do, and that one, is I just want to iron that arm. I'm not too worried. I will lose the design sketch in there of the little wicker, but I'm not too worried because I can sketch that back in. But now I can get rid of that red, and you can really then see, you know, how it's looking. So you'll notice that I stitched on 2 little snippets of fabric there as well on the side. I've just put them into position with some invisible stitch. So what I will do is, using the generic cotton, I'll do some running stitch over those just to really anchor them down so they look like scraps that have repaired the piece. Similar style to that side. Just random morsels of colours just to add a bit of interest. Okay, So I think we've nutted the chair. Once I get that stitching done, I'll then come back and just ease this guy into position. I might even turn that edge so it feels rounded, like it is hanging over the edge of that chair instead of just being cut. Yeah, I like that. So I'll put a turned edge and I'll applique that down into position. Then try and get gravity to pull it downwards so it looks like it's, you know, hanging at least over the edge of that chair. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty. I'm just looking up to the TV that my iPad projects to, so that will work a treat. Okay, now what did we want to do next? I love how when you iron satin stitch, you get that flat feel. Oh, it's really pretty. Let's just pack up our box of tricks here before they fall off the desk. I need my needle. So when I come back in the next video, my chair will be completed. Is there anything over here that I can do as well so that my next video I have done a little bit more homework? I don't think we'll do that there. I might do that with you. Maybe we can, what do we do? Got a few things to do in here. I do need to work on the bird, but I might save that for a whole video where we pull out all the colours and really, you know, work that out. I do want to embroider the flowers, so maybe I could do that. There's only 2 leaves, so I think I will do it all in wool. So it's, what did I do down here? Because remember, I've already embroidered these once before. Okay, so I used DMC cotton and then did a little feature in the center. Okay, so I'd like to do them a little different, just to, you know, amuse me. So what have we got? Coming up to 10 minutes left. So let's stitch those leaves. So I can finish the chair, stitch the leaves. I will stitch on the crocheted blanket as my homework, and I will also, which way are we going to stitch these? We might start, we'll start at the side of the leaf at the base. I need to turn this around, guys, so I do apologise. It's going to get a bit, just so I can get my hand in there. Yep. So I will do the 2 leaves. I only have 2. There's not one over here. So I'll get these 2 done, just with some satin stitch, working my way up one side and the other, and I'll use the vein in the leaf to keep my stitches to the one side. Then I might come back with another colour and stitch the vein in, and I might use chocolate because there's little stems here. Maybe I can do that as well. Stitch those in to position. Let's get this leaf done. I should be able to do that in the time we have left. It's a little bit crooked. It's not the best stitching here, but anyway, does not matter. Sometimes not perfect is perfect. Well, that's my story anyway. Gosh, the other day I left the iron on in my craft room. It's sitting on my desk. It's one of those little ones. And I've left the room and I come back 3 hours later and it was clicking away, sitting on my desk. It wasn't near anything, but, you know, it's in amongst everything. Oh, my heart stopped. I thought, gee, girl. If it had been my normal iron, which I haven't used since 1948, it would switch off after a period of time. It's got like a safety feature, but this little craft one doesn't. I haven't ironed a piece of clothing for years. I just don't buy those fabrics. They just, maybe if I worked in an office or my husband did and we had business shirts, yeah, well maybe, but it's just not in our world. So that's the one side of the leaf done. So for interest, we could come back the other side in a different colour. But I might just do the same again. I'm going to bring my needle up down the bottom of that leaf. Keep it simple. I wonder if I've got some pink embroidery ribbon that I could do some little knots or some little features like these satin ribbons that are already through it. I wonder if I can find some pink and satin ribbon those flowers a little. I don't have a lot of, I've jiggered that stitch up, I've gone too far apart. Yeah, and maybe at least highlight them a little bit with satin ribbon. I'm not a big satin ribbon embroiderer. I just haven't had the chance to do it, let alone many supplies, because they are expensive. So I tend to just add little highlights when I do it, or pick a piece that's just a little bit of it. I guess I'm misering my supplies. I need to keep an eye out on Facebook. Maybe I can pick up some secondhand, save a few dollars. Okay, that's the little leaf done. Yeah, happy with that. So I'm just going to bring my thread up over here on this leaf. No use finishing it off, and just let that lie. And let's have a look at the browns. I'm going to unplug that iron. There you go, it's unplugged. I got a brown here. It's quite a dark brown. Sort of feel like it could handle it. Let's snip a bit of that off. And I might split it into 3. And that will be our stick-like colour. Put it in my little tray. I've lost my thimble in the process, so now I'm going to get a jab where I don't want a jab, in the sore spot. So what I might do is come up. You may not see the colour tone. I might just come up a little bit from the tip of that leaf. So I've got a couple options. We could do 3 little stitches, or do we just do the 1? You guys will never see this. I might zoom in a bit more. Maybe. I'm thinking I'm going to do the 1 stitch. I like how it's just a straight line. If I did 3 little stitches, it might disappear too much into the leaf. Like, it's not even like you guys can see that. Can you see that? See, it's just 1 stitch. Then following that same feel, because these little stems or these little branch bits are narrow, oh, not narrow, small, I'm just going to do, might come up and just do that. Yeah, I like that. I like it because it matches this down here. So that's this, it's ever so simple. There's not a lot of work in that. So let's just knot it off, and I'm going to make sure it's nice and strong, that securing, because I haven't couched it. So it is an opportunity for something to get caught there and make that little stitch appear sloppy. Okay, now while I've got a few minutes left, they're down here as well. They're down here. So let's explore down there like that, down like that. There's a little green bud there on that. I do like that. Breaks the line, so I'm going to just back away from that a little bit. And that wool that I've used to do this little leaf, I can come down here and stitch in that little bud. So that was simple. I like that. It does sort of feel like a cherry blossom when you do that style of stitching. I can finish that off. Okay. Where else do we do that stitch? I'm going to zoom up so that over here I'll do the leaf first, then do the brown, and then do that. I've still got time and I've still got thread, so I'm going to come up here and fiddle around over here. This is tricky. There's a curve to this leaf, this branch. It's not as segmented. Yeah, I'm going to have to break my stitch down into two there. If the fibre or the thread was thicker, you could hide a curve easily, but I will break that down because I want it to feel like there's a bit of a bow in that particular flower as per the designer's work. Then we got one of those little green buds again, so we'll just come back a bit from him. I can pick a straight line to there, then I can pick a straight line. This is a bit more spacious out here. That branch or the twig is a little bit bigger than that last area, so I can break it down to a few stitches and it still looks okay. Okay. All right, I've got plenty of homework. I shall finish the chair, stitch on the crocheted blanket, get the button quilted look happening on that couch cushion. I will finish that other little green leaf, stitch in the last little branchy bit, and then come back in the next video and plan something else and start something else. Got plenty to do, so we'll be in this zone then when I get back. All right, beautiful. Okay guys, have a lovely day. I hope you get time to stitch, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for joining me. Bye. Hello everyone, I'm back. So I finished filming the video, planning the chair and how we were going to stitch it, and I spent the whole day stitching. It was fantastic. I got nothing done. Like, it was just great. I literally stitched and ate meals and snacks and stitched and stitched and stitched. Watched a few movies. It was just lovely. So it was a great way to spend the day. So I thought I'll turn on the camera and just bring you up to speed because I finished it. So I can add this little bit of video footage to the end of the entire nearly hour and you see the finished product. So what did I do that we didn't discuss? Pretty much the only thing I did that we didn't discuss was I didn't do the full arm up here, or the full back of the chair with the satin stitch. I sort of did a bit, and then I thought, oh, I sort of liked it. I thought it might get quite heavy if I continued on. I put a little bit down here, sort of the seat was bound together there, so structurally I sort of felt like it needed that. Then I left this open. Yeah, I really liked it. The stitches in the center, the lattice work, what I ended up doing is creating the big stitch up to the top, and then I come back on itself, so it's actually double. And then I put 2 little stitches in the center of the X just to anchor it down. Even still, I'm a bit worried that it will catch things, so I have to be a little bit careful around there. If I'd couched it all down, of course it would sit really well, but I haven't yet. I don't know, I think it'll be all right. But I guess if it starts to look a bit loose, I can always come back and pop a few extra stitches in there. But at the moment, I like it. So really, really happy with my chair. It is completed. I have been thinking about what I can put on the chair. I've had all sorts of things go through my mind. I've even considered a pussycat. The one idea that's floating around in my head is a little bag, like a drawstring bag with some yarn and some knitting needles hanging out of it, or a crochet hook or something along that line. And I'm sort of thinking about a Suffolk puff or yo-yo and sort of pulling it in, leaving it a little bit open so it looks like it's sort of slouching on the chair. But I just don't know. I just don't know if it'll be the right size for the picture of the seat. So at the moment, it's nothing. I'm just going to leave it blank. Something will come along, or I'll think of something, or I'll see some inspiration somewhere. I just don't know. So there you go. I've finished my chair in my garden. I've got my iron on, so I've just been touching it with the heat so that my pen, my sketch is gone. So that's looking pretty good. That lace still flaps around there, but it is anchored at either end so that it doesn't fray. But I sort of like that little bit of movement. There's little areas like that all over the piece that, you know, it moves. So I'll just zoom in so you can have a closer look at the chair. At the base of the chair, I did, which I've done before, is put a little bit of green cheesecloth through, some French knots, some pistol stitches, some general stitches, and just created a little bit of the essence of ground under it. Just gives it that floor. So happy with the way that came together. Yeah, so mission accomplished. So what will I do next? Well, it will be something over here, but for now, that's enough. It's about 11 o'clock at night, so I will add this little bit of footage to the video and head off to bed. I'll upload it. So thank you for everyone watching. Thank you to Bronwyn for this gorgeous pattern that I bought, goodness knows when. It was ages ago. Is there a date? A printing? Red Brolly's Graphics, Thread of Time, Australia. I think that's the printing house. So if anyone is interested in purchasing this, I will take a photo at the end of this video of the page, the front cover, so you can have a little bit of a look. But I'm sure there's be a date here somewhere, but no, I know it's been in my cupboard for some time. I would have picked it up at a craft fair. So I'm pleased that I've been able to take an image from the quilt and add it in. One day I will do it in its entirety, but at the moment we've just taken a little morsel from it. So let me just bring the camera back up so you can see it. So the polka dot girls. So I will take a photo of that and put it at the end of the video, as well as a shot of the chair. And if you did have this and considered using it, remember I reduced the pattern by 85%. So that's how I sort of got it down in size, which you know because you've been watching the video for like the whole time. Anyway, see, a whole day's gone by. I've forgotten what I even said this morning. All right, everyone, look after yourselves, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.